Hey guys, what's going on? This is Brad from the Ad Army. Welcome to day 4 of Giving Week, but more importantly, we finally have it. This is the long-awaited Vanquish Soul deck profile, and I have it done. So if you guys haven't been keeping up with How to Budget series, if you want to check how I did this, go ahead and check on how I made this video for budget, and put air quotes, budget, Vanquish Soul. So, without further ado, let's get into it. But first, like, comment, subscribe, guys. It really helps. Thank you. So we're going to start off with monsters, because there's no reason not diving into it, because, yeah, this took a while to get. So let's get to it. First, 3 copies of Vanquish Soul Pantera. I'll explain why I play 3 of those in a minute. 3 copies of Dr. Madlove, your spell and trap searcher. Also just an additional body and a dark target. Good level 4 too. Triple Raisin, you wouldn't be able to do it without it. So those are all the level 4s. Moving on to our level 5s, 2 copies of Jiaolong here. So, Jiaolong, great addition to the deck. Really does help accelerate your plays. Really does give you some little cheeky things you can do. 2 copies of Borger here. I used to play 3 in my initial testing. Personally, I don't think you need it, but you could bump it up to 3 if you want. But really good. 2 copies of Caesar Valius. Fantastic card. Usually I search it off the first or second search with a raisin, just so you can get in rotation. Really powerful. And then we're going to move into basically what our hand traps are before I show off the one-ofs. But quickly for the 3 Panteras, the reason I play 3 is good reasoning for what I was doing before. So for initial testing, guys, one thing I found that was really interesting is that I kept finding myself not having a normal summon. So a lot of people will alleviate this through the use of, like, either playing Fenrir's, they'll play maybe Pot of Prosperity to dig for the Raisin. But I thought about it in a really nice way. The one thing I really like about Pantera, it's the only way to start your turn in this deck to get, you know, a setup without normal summoning, and I really like that as just a value card. I think it's just really strong that you can special summon it, and it gets you to rock super quick. So it puts rock in rotation, so if you do have a normal summon, you could follow up with, like, Mad Love or something. This also is, like, one of the only other cards that, in conjunction with, like, Mad Love, you can go for a first turn rank 4 if you have the setup for it. So, yeah, you just might want to enjoy that. So that's why I'm playing 3 Pantera. I just really value the normal summons in the deck, because if you don't have a normal summon for this deck and you don't have Fenrir, you're not really doing anything. So just keep that in mind. So for our hand traps, first I have my Bestial package here, which is going to be the 1 Magnuma and 2 Druid Worm. So yeah, pretty standard. Magnuma is another Vanquish Soul Searcher, because you can get Caesar off of it. So go ahead and play it. Druid Worm's just in here in case you run into, like, Unchained or anything like that. And also it's your way into Chaos Angel with Mad Love, because you go into a dark Chaos Angel with both of them. So there you go. We also have Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, just for negating your searches against opponents. And then we're running 2 copies of DD Crow here, because generic, and one of the more annoying matchups that I keep finding myself in is, like, against Tyr. So I just wanted to play more of those. Also, because it's a dark, it does do more, and I really didn't care for, like, playing something like the Skullmeister, because I'd rather have something that just does something proactively, and this can, like, snipe Yamas, it can snipe against certain cards your opponent wants back, maybe, so you can do that. Then my one-ofs, so one of Dogoran, he's a Kaiju, he's a fire, so he helps. 1 Therion King Regulus, and then to round out my, in theory, Kastira package, just the 1 Fenrir and the 1 Riseheart. So originally, guys, I probably will, if I wanted to play this at a higher event, pick up 2 more. So I'll play it at 3. But for a budget version, 1 is fine. Because let me keep it honest with this. If you're not going to find this on the first turn, you're not really doing anything with it. So you'd have to invest in a higher Kastira package, in my opinion. At least maybe playing, like, 1 or 2 Rice off, because it does help out. But personally, if you don't want to, I think 1 Fenrir is completely fine. It doesn't necessarily matter too much unless you really want to, like, start with it. So it's in here. I'm also playing Small World, so that kind of makes sense why there's, like, 1 of each, because usually you'd want to play multiple copies of each. But yeah, Regulus comes out, really important, maybe your turn 2. If you open it turn 1 and you have Borger in your hand, or you can play Borger, I'd usually set this up with the Rock. Because what you're usually going to do is set this up with Rock the Vanquisher. You use this as your negate, and then immediately what you can do is you either add back your Borger or summon off the another monster so that you have set up, because you can just add the Borger back to your hand. If you have like something, or if you have continue set, you could do that too. Dogoran's just here because I needed a Kaiju, and I think this is the best one. Also, the Rise Heart's important because if you, for whatever reason, need to banish the Fenrir for like Small World, you can at least use like, because I'm playing Rhoda in the deck, obviously, you can search out the Rise Heart. I've done that in a lot of games, and it just gives me a level 4 to use for like Xyz or stuff like that. So those are the monsters. We're going to go on to the spells. Okay, guys, here are the spells. Starting off with the most important one, triple copies of Stake Your Soul. So, yeah, also this one's a CR, just want to point out there. I pulled this from a box, so if you haven't watched the series, that's why this was budget. I would never have bought a CR otherwise, unless it was like stupid good deal, but to make it work for the videos, I only spent like a $25 budget, guys, for about per 2 weeks, because that's what I was doing when I was working my last job. So pretty much that's how I did that one. So yeah, but never, yeah, seriously guys, never open a box. I just opened one because I wanted to help out my local OTS, and I said, why not? So yeah, triple Stake Your Soul, very good. Then I got my one-ofs of Searchers. So we got the one Rhoda Platinum before they reprinted that in the Liberty Collection. One Small World. And a copy of Durandal. I'm only playing 3 of each now because before I was playing 2 of these, and the 1. Because I was playing 5 in consonance with the Stake Your Soul so I could have more access to Raisin. But then I realized you do need Raisin in rotation, but if you run 3 Pantera, you can drop the search cards because you're more than likely going to open up a field. I think the biggest problem this deck still has is that even with Jiaolong, you don't have reliable access to Raisin that doesn't like have you play these additional cards. So since Rarity Collection came out and we now have Prosperity, I would probably pick these up if I was playing a different version of my deck. And then just put Prosperity in here, maybe cut out the Small World altogether, have the one Durandal, have the one Rhoda, and go back to it. But personally, for right now, this works for me. I really like the Small World just because it does let you add more options to your plays. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward what you'll do if you don't play it. I was playing 2. The only reason I dropped it is I was opening too many spells. So I reduced it, added more monsters, and it's been working out. So before we get into the rest of the Vanquish Soul spells, I have some of my just tech spells here. So Book of Moon, Enemy Controller. If you guys watched my Pick 5, these cards were in it because these were what I was testing at the moment, and I was having more success. 2 copies of Forbidden Chalice. I played these 4 these quick plays, just based on the fact that I wanted some variety, but also more usability. Because you could really tech your extra deck to be like a Super Poly extra deck if you wanted, and just take out some of these for like Super Polys, but since I'm not playing that variant of the deck yet, so I'm thinking about it, this is fine. I think the advantage I get is I like doing draw phase negates or forcing stuff with like Book of Moon. So like if there's a Baron on the field, you just go immediately draw phase, go Book of Moon, try to book it, and then your opponent has to either negate it or just they have to give it. So they'll do that. You could also do this on like because the Vanadium boards are annoying, you can just flip down the Dissipator. So you try to get rid of as many negates as possible, so you can do that. Econ is just really strong because in this deck, sometimes you want to get rid of your Rock because it's not going to do anything, and your opponent might have negated with Imperm, so you might as well just turn it into like something that ruins their day. A lot of times you could take their boss monsters at the start of your turn with this, and then they're kind of forced to figure out what to do in like turn 2 and turn 3. So it's really up to you. And then Forbidden Chalice is here just as a quick effect negation. I just like having this as like an additional thing to just deal with opponents' cards, because if they're expecting Imperm a lot of times, and they are like in game 2 or 3, you could expect if you choose to go first that they might have Duster or something. So you can use this as like a quick spot removal or just hold it in your hand. Because sometimes if I open one of these, I'll keep one in hand just in case. Usually I'll set the controller just because I like it. But yeah, I keep Chalice usually for my turn, depending on what I'm playing against. So then we'll go into Vanquish Soul spells and traps. Of all of them, this ratio is probably going to change when I change the deck. So the first one's going to be 2 copies of Continue. I think this stays at 2, personally. It's just too good. Like, you get so much value off of going into a Raisin, linking it off, and then just having that as a follow-up for, like, next turn. Or if you need to, like, start playing immediately, you can just use it to bring something back. The position changing does and doesn't matter sometimes. I found out a lot with Jiaolong. One of its advantages is, as long as you have a fire in hand, this can effectively be an OTK enabler, based on the fact that you bring back the monster, then reveal the fire, and then just turn it back to attack. So that's how you're supposed to do it. So it's almost like a command and a combo. Moving into like Dust Devil, I only played out 1. Honestly, I think Dust Devil is one of the more... I never use it for what it's supposed to be, because Dust Devil's, I think in reality, supposed to be like a defensive card. However, I use it offensively almost all the time. So usually what happens is I'll summon something in defense, and I'm in a battle phase where I don't want to go into Nibiru range, and I'll use the Dust Devil to change the battle position. One thing that's important, guys, is that you don't, because it says you don't have to actually flip monsters face down for the resolution. It's just the first effect of changing the battle position needs to take place. So you can use this during the battle phase because it is a battle position like changing card. But more importantly, it's just a really good like reactionary card where you can go continue, bring something back, maybe get a search, and then out of nowhere you just Dust Devil to bring the monster to attack position and then go for game. Usually I'll do that with like a Caesar or something or stuff like that. And finally, the last card is Snow Devil. Snow Devil is really good. I think you don't play more than 1 because it doesn't have a hand trap effect. And you just, usually you utilize this either if you're bricking bad with like maybe you draw like Caesar and Mad Love and you don't really have any other way to get to like something like Raisin. So you need to like try to bait out or survive. So you'll like summon something off of this just to like survive. If you have the full effect, like the 3 effect, which is where you get to destroy all your opponent's monsters, I believe. Yeah. So you destroy all their monsters, you get the protection for Vanquish Souls, and you get access to the summoning effect. It's just really good. But Snow Devil is only weakness is that it is a trap. So, and it does force you to reveal all 3. So the bigger problem with Snow Devil is that if you're doing this like turn 2, in theory, like you're on your opponent's turn, or if you're on turn 1 of your opponent's turn, and you set up perfectly, you have all 3, but they don't know what your cards are, you now have that problem of do you want to reveal it to them? Because although a board wipe is really good, sometimes people can just play off of it. So yeah, that's the spells and traps, guys. I'll go to the extra right now. Okay, starting off with the extra deck, guys. I'm running 2 rock. Personally, if you're going to run rock at 3, you're probably playing more of a control build that focuses on like prosperity. And although people are like, what do you mean control? It's like, this deck can OTK, it just doesn't always pull it off. So it's like a slow grind out to like a finisher. So I play 2 just because there's some options I take to try to like close the game out faster. But yeah, that's why I'm playing 2. You could play 3. I'm going to pick up a 3rd one anyways. And then I'm going to do more videos on this showing you guys the different versions. So yeah, pretty much that's the 2 rocks. The next one's going to be Nightmare Phoenix. This is just in as a flex spot, just pop spells and traps. The benefit of this is just that it gives you a downward arrow. The only problem with rock is that you can't use it as material. I understand why. However, I feel like its restriction should have probably just been you can't use it to turn it summoned as a material. Just because I don't think that's too good for it. But I get why. Is that second effect to summon would allow it to be basically a free link 2, and they don't want you to do that for this archetype. But that's fine. I just play this as an additional like extender for the pop. Usually you'll put this under a rock and you'll get to draw 1. So for my next link 2, I'm playing 1 dark. I don't think you never play dark, to be honest. It's just too good. It's just really powerful. You summon a monster back from the graveyard. Darks are super prevalent, so it helps out. And then you could even search for a Mad Love if you like run into a card and then just search it, or Borger. But it's up to you. I personally like it. Actually, I think you can only search for the Mad Love. Actually, no. I think you only search for Borger. See, I haven't done that play enough because usually when I summon Dark, I'm using it as like a link climber. But yeah, you can. I know you can search. I think you just search out the Borger, if I'm right. Just checking quick. Yeah, you can search out the Borger because it's 1500 defense. But yeah, you can do that. Then my link packages. So I'm gonna show you the normal ones before I get to my spicier tech one that I've been playing. So Axis Code Talker. A friend gave me one as a gift, and I've had it ever since. So, you know, basically I use it in everything if I can, but if I can't, it's not necessarily important. But I love this card, just really good, and it's a bond of my friendship with one of my friends. So just saying. Next thing is Underworld Goddess. Both of them kind of fit this role of like when I'm using them. One outs the board, like destroys everything and tries to finish the game. This one's just to like out the board, but also kind of like build it up. I find using this against like purely against Noirs or something, stuff like that, where you need to get rid of like monsters your deck literally just can't kill. If I had to pick a problem with this deck, that's probably the biggest one, is that it has issues trying to get rid of like towers. So you have to find unique ways to do that. And this just lets you run one, and it's a good card overall, because Unreal Goddess is good. Like, you'll find yourself flooding your board really quickly, actually, once your effects are all lined up. So as long as your opponent's not disrupting you, you're good. And then my pseudo-boss, the one I'm liking the most, is actually Soldier of Chaos here. I know I featured this in my My Pick 5, but there's a reason why. I always wanted to try out this card. I couldn't really find a deck where it worked too well, because why would you give up monsters? However, I found that this card and this deck is extremely powerful. So basically, when you link off, because you're usually always going to use Borger, because what I usually find out doing is you burn with your Borger, then you link it off in your turn 2, and this basically becomes a pseudo OTK and then also a clearing machine. So I wish its battle phase effect was, you know, available the moment you like destroy a monster, but this card takes out 2 cards for its investment, and it basically becomes annoying for your opponent because they can't target it if you link it off with a level 7 or higher monster. So even with something like a Rock, because Rock can't be linked, what you do is you link into this. It can't be targeted. So the monsters you linked off, you just add them back to your hand. So now you have follow-up, and Soldier of Chaos pretty much will be the highest monster on the field. So during your next turn, if you have to go into it, you just summon back the monster. Soldier of Chaos is here. He has the highest attack, and pretty much it insulates you there. But also, it's just really powerful. It lets you deal with boards, and your opponent has a tough time getting rid of it if they don't know how to play around it. So moving into our synchros here, Baron. I don't really need to talk too much about it. It's a negate. You can make it. Any of your tuners plus Borger can do it. So pretty much, or basically anything with Ash that's level 7 can do it, because I've used a Fenrir once to make a Baron, so you can do that. Also, Chaos Angel. Shout out to my boy if you ever see this. Jordan. He's the one who hooked me up with this. I ended up getting this from a friend. He just needed to sell off cards. So, you know, pretty good. But Chaos Angel's here. It's a level 10. You make it through, usually, pretty much, I only ever make this with the level 6s in my deck. So my Bestials and Mad Love. So, yeah, usually that's what I do. I make a dark one. Banish a card. It just can't be destroyed. Oh, it's unaffected. Or, yeah, no, it is, can't be destroyed by battle. So this thing just becomes annoying, and it really just helps out. Usually I use it to clear and try to stay under the 5 summons. Like, Nibiru honestly doesn't, like, it doesn't kill this deck, but it really hurts if you get hit with one. So you just try to, like, avoid it. And then the rest are Xyz monsters. So I'll go through it quick. Our Zeus package, you know, obviously Borbo and Chalkanine. You just use it to extend for the 4 material Zeus. Also playing one Baguska. Can't beat it. Join him. Punish him. That's what he does. He's also your stalling card if you really need to make it, because I like this just as an option. Dweller. He's for graveyards. Honestly, I wouldn't even have to play this if Tyr wasn't back. But this does help out a lot against Unchained. So don't rule out Dweller if you need space. And then my next cards, one Exciaton Knight. I actually have this as like my second Zeus. If I had to replace any of these cards, I'd probably replace maybe Baguska, maybe some of my Lynx, one of them or so, for maybe Typhon, and obviously Little Knight, but I ain't got money for Little Knight, and I'm not trying to spend money right now, so yeah. Basically, Exciaton Knight gets the job done. He's like your second Zeus. And then finally, last card, Divine Arsenal, AA Zeus. Can't beat it. It's just really good. I don't actually find myself making it that much, so you could, in theory, not play it if you want to, but it's just too good to pass up because it turns any rank 4 into like a board clear. So pretty much that's what we got. Now we're moving to side deck time. Okay, guys, here's a quick side deck. Personally, I've been going through it a bunch. And I'm going to change it a lot because the last time I used it, I didn't really like my options. So, yeah. But we'll start off with the card I think that stays in here no matter what, which is going to be triple copies of Dimensional Shifter. Or Dimension Shifter. I always say Dimensional. I don't know why. But Dimension Shifter, just really good. You stop graveyards. Here's the thing. I know people will say the Vanquish Soul can play with it easy, but you don't really want to use Shifter a lot, because the problem with Shifter in this deck is, outside of it being really good against other decks, you find yourself not wanting to use it too much, if that makes sense. Like, you want to hit someone with it, but at the same time you're going to punish yourself because now you stopped your resource loop. And I know people are like, oh, well, it doesn't matter, you can hold out to your turn. The problem is, if you want to get started, because Vanquish Soul is more of like a turn 2 to turn 3 deck where it really starts to pivot more as long as everything's going the way it should. I personally prefer to have the deck not get hindered by this, because the graveyard is a really good resource in Vanquish Soul. So, yeah, just letting you guys know that. I'm going to build a deck to focus around Shifter, because there's also a build for it specifically. So, yeah, I'm going to work on that for you guys. My next lineup, I had Kumongous, Haunted Mansion, and the third Crow. So, my theory here was, if I was going to play a lot of Vanquish Soul and Tier at some point, I'd rather have these than not, but I think I don't want them anymore because they don't do as much. I personally think that if I change my deck around, I'm going to include at least 9 to 12 hand traps just to be more viable. Like, I might perm back in. But yeah, Crow is okay. I might keep it in here, but it doesn't matter. Haunted Mansion was here because I just wanted an additional card if I needed it, so I'd have like 7, in theory, like DD Crow-ish cards if I had to side them in against like something like Unchained or Tier. And finally, the Kumongous. Personally, Kumongous helps. I personally was thinking about either putting Kumongous in or Dogoran. The only reason Dogoran made it in is that if you were to use Stake Your Soul and you only had the Kumongous in your hand, I hate to say it, going into Caesar or going into Pantera isn't really that good. So, yeah, that's why I left that out. Okay, and the next couple cards, 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. Personally, I love and hate this card. When it works, it works. When it doesn't, it doesn't. So that's my best way to put it. So yeah, there's not much more to explain. It's like really good when you can actually pull it off. It's really bad when you don't. Then my two of my one-ofs, we have Change of Heart and Storm Duster. Why is it Storm Duster? Feather Duster. So effectively, both are really good. I think that the Change of Heart puts in a lot of work when your opponent wasn't expecting it. So usually I'll run some interactions through their board, then go for the Change of Heart, and it's like, oh, Jesus. They're like, it's usually you don't factor it in. Feather Duster is just here. It's okay. I don't think it does or doesn't perform well. It's just you play it because it's good against back row. And it kind of forces out stuff no matter what. Finally, some of my board wipes or board clears. I'll start off with the ones that I'm probably going to take out. It's just Double Lightning Storm. I really think if this card was at 3, you would I'd probably like it more. But when you see it at 2, the biggest problem with it is it's one of these cards I think that it should be at 3 because it's more impactful if you see it right away. Where it being at 2 is if you do see it, you're happy. If you don't, it's whatever. And it's one of those cards that you could, if you had Thrust, play with it, but I don't think you want to search it. So, kind of an up to you. I don't really use it too much because I always find myself wanting monsters in my side because of Vanquish Soul. But, yeah, or Floodgates. So, these might turn into, like, there can be only ones, which is something I was planning on siding. I mean, I kind of just didn't want to play it because Floodgates are annoying for people. But, personally, if I wanted to win, like, a lot more and, like, build my deck in a certain way, I think I'm going to be playing There Can Be Only Ones, even in the main, because it's just so strong. And finally, the last 3 cards, triple evenly matched. Personally, guys, this card is fantastic. I think you play it no matter what, because Vanquish Soul is one of these decks where they're bored. If you're going second, you need something. So if you're forced to go second and you win game 1, I don't see any reason why you don't bring this in, because it's just a punishing card. You don't even need your battle phase for Vanquish Soul. You just want to hit someone with this and then like slowly climb. And that's all I've got for you today, guys. That was the side deck. Pretty much evenly. Doesn't need too much explanation. It's just really good. Just want to say really quick, thank you guys so much. This was my first real like big project for my How to Budget series. So even if like a few of you have only watched it, I hope you've gotten something out of it. Personally, I just really enjoyed it. It took me a while to get it done. I'm sorry that like for those who are probably waiting because it's been a while, why it took so long to get the profile out. Personally, I just hadn't had time to test it, and although I like playing online, I personally wanted to play against like actual players because it helps me out a lot, like for advice and stuff. I'm not super big on like asking through like Discords and stuff. I have a community that I can kind of test with, but I haven't been able to do it lately, just kind of been busy. But pretty much, I wanted to give out like a baseline of what I think is good and what I've been working when I've played it, and this has been working for now. Pretty much, I think Triple Pantera was really good. I really like it because I just like opening a monster to go into Rock. Because if you're not, I think if you're not doing Rock turn 1, you're either bricking really bad or you're not doing anything. Because at least Rock gives you a possible disruption or allows you to draw into interaction. So this deck is really different than most. It's definitely in the mid-range field. I really do enjoy I do like playing it. I don't think that you can't play this deck with other without other engines. So one thing I just want to say is this deck is really dependent on playing additional engines. So unlike most decks where they're insulated engine, because my best comparison would be Unchained. Unchained's engine by itself is just super solid. It doesn't need to play any additional cards. They just probably anything you want to throw in. So I know at the YCS, one guy played Fenrir in his deck. He didn't have to play it, but he did. It's like an additional card. In this deck, it really does rely more on what you play with it, because by nature, the Vanquish Soul archetype isn't really meant to be a very powerful in terms of like aggressive. It's supposed to be a combination deck. So you're doing lots of things and interactions together in order to draw and or play cards. So I just want to put it out there, guys. That's why I play certain cards and do different things, because that's what I value with the deck. But pretty much this is what I've got now. I have other decks variants of this coming up. I have a stun variant specifically that I've been wanting to like try. That's like really annoying, but like really fun for like the player. Like it's the more the autopilot version of this deck. This one's more the interactive, but also back and forth thing to try to build sizable boards and then like finish your game with your opponent with a big OTK. Shout outs to the card Jiaolong. I think Jiaolong is fantastic because it really does mess up your opponent. Like if they're not playing Link monsters, the wackiest thing you can do is use Jiaolong's effect to put their monster in defense, and that kind of makes people mad because they're like, oh well, I can't turn it out of defense. So yeah, pretty much the deck is really strong right now. I think it's a good time to pick it up if you want, because most people are off of the deck because they don't think it's going to do anything. This deck is a sleeper deck for sure. It's one of the decks I've chosen, and there's going to be more parts to the budget series, so I'll keep it out there. Enjoy today, guys, because this is day 4 of Giving Week. Enjoy tomorrow, because Thanksgiving, for those who don't watch the next video or do watch it. I appreciate you, and as always, this is Brad from the Ed Army signing off. And for all of you out there, to sign on.